Today we're looking at what's happening in Afghanistan, a country in South Asia. What's going on there now is really important, and not just for the people who live there, but also for the whole world. The country has been taken over by a group called the Taliban, and people are asking what this might mean. And I've been taking a look back at what has happened over the past 20 years to explain what's going on. 20 years ago, nearly 3,000 people were killed in terrorist attacks in America. It led to the US and allies, including the UK, going to war in Afghanistan to fight an extreme group which was in charge there at the time, the Taliban. They had given support to a group called Al-Qaeda, who were behind the attacks in the US. The Taliban followed a very strict version of Islam. Their severe rules meant life was hard, especially for women. Girls weren't allowed to go to school, and many things, including TV, music, and cinema, were banned. The Taliban was defeated by the US and its supporters, and a new government was put in place in Afghanistan. The US and UK army stayed in Afghanistan to support the new government. They oversaw elections and trained the Afghan army, but the Taliban continued to launch attacks and fight for power. Thousands of people lost their lives, mostly Afghan civilians, but also many UK soldiers. The war became more and more unpopular back home, and in 2014, the UK stopped being involved in the fighting there. However, there was some hope in early 2019 when the US and the Taliban began peace talks aimed at finding a solution to the conflict. America's former President Donald Trump and current President Joe Biden promised to remove troops completely from Afghanistan if the militants agreed not to host terrorist groups. But talks between the Taliban and Afghan government failed. And after foreign troops started to leave Afghanistan this year, the Taliban regained control of the country much more quickly than many expected. The Afghan president has fled, while the US and its allies are helping people from their own countries leave. Many will see this as a big failure for the US and its allies. People are asking if the US and UK involvement in Afghanistan was worth the cost, in money spent and in lives lost. Some are also worried Afghanistan will again support terrorist groups, and there are concerns about what life will be like for those living there who don't support the Taliban. Well, Ricky joins us now to talk us through what some of this might mean. Morning, Ricky. Can you tell us what does this mean for children living there now?
Morning, Shanique. Well, the situation in Afghanistan is changing very quickly. Now there are worries that the return of the Taliban will bring big changes to lots of children's lives. One of the biggest will be their right to go to school. It's something we don't think twice about here in the UK. But in Afghanistan, the Taliban have in the past stopped girls from having an education. And lots of girls will be worried about whether they might lose their right to have a job, go to work, go to university, and even do things like dress the way they want and make their own choices. Now, 7 years ago, Newsround travelled to Afghanistan and spoke to some girls there. They were able to go to school after the Taliban were defeated, and they told us about their worries if the Taliban were to come back.
We might have to go underground to study and continue our school. And I think we might have some problems, or we won't be secure because Taliban don't like girls to go to school.
What do you think?
If they're Taliban or the other people, they're going to put a bomb or put many other things inside or next to their school. So we all have to stand against them and tell them, no, it's also girls' right that they should also go to school.
But you know, in the UK, where I'm from, it's completely normal.
Wow, it's very great.
One day in Afghanistan, it will be also normal for girls and boys to go to school. And I think we are the one who are gonna make it.
Well, it's something that Malala Yousafzai has been talking about. And Malala is a campaigner for the rights of girls and women. When she was a girl, she was attacked by the Taliban in Pakistan just for going to school. And she says the whole world will be supporting girls and women in Afghanistan.
My message to all Afghan girls and women is that I stand with you. I will stand for your rights, for your right to have a future, for your right to have access to education, and your right to have access to your dreams. No one should deny you those rights. You should not be just sent back to homes and not being allowed to go to school, not being allowed to do a job. You are all humans. You have equal rights as everyone else. And I and everyone else will stand with you. We will protect your rights, and our voices are there together with your voices.
So that's the situation for children in Afghanistan. But what did the war in Afghanistan mean for us here in the UK?
Well, Shanique, the conflict went on for 20 years. And for much of that time, the situation in Afghanistan was our top story here on Newsround. The UK had a large base there called Camp Bastion, and it housed up to 14,000 people who worked for the British Armed Forces. So lots of children in the UK had parents or relatives who were putting their lives at risk. We know during that time, more than 250 British men and women were killed in Afghanistan and many more injured. So seeing the latest events will be difficult and an awful reminder of the conflict in the country. Now, you may also remember Prince Harry served time in Afghanistan during his second tour of duty. He was flying helicopters over there.
So what does this victory mean for the Taliban and for the UK and the rest of the world?
Yeah, well, lots of people are concerned about what this takeover by the Taliban could mean for people in Afghanistan and other parts of the world. Now, some say the Taliban's resurgence shows that the US has failed in its mission to overthrow them and bring peace to the country. There will be a lot of criticism fired at Joe Biden, the current US president, and also other countries from around the world, even here in the UK, will be pulling together to see what they can do to stop this from getting any worse.
Thank you for that, Ricky. And over on the Newsround website, we've got an interactive guide to the history of Afghanistan, a report on the latest on what's happening, as well as who the Taliban are. We've also got a special report on girls in Afghanistan and how what's happening right now might affect them.